Hey everyone, how are y'all doing? Time to bring some focus to your favorite and not so favorite geeky films. Cam here and welcome back to Cam in Focus. Alright, so y'all already know the deal. Hit the subscribe button to follow Geek News now. Use the code GNN at metallicdicegames.com at checkout for 10% off. And use the code GNN10 at riptapparel.com for 10% off. Let's get right to it. And I'm sure it doesn't need to be said at this point, but spoilers! Okay, so I know that this isn't necessarily a geeky type of film, but it's still one that I've wanted to talk about for a long time. Southpaw is directed by Antoine Fuqua and is unfortunately one of the last films composed by James Horner before his tragic death. This film is one of those boxing movies with a down-on-his-luck fighter struggling to regain everything that was taken from him. We've seen this formula done to death in the past, but what sets this film apart is that it's a movie that knows and embraces what it's trying to be. With great direction from Fuqua, along with absolutely stellar performances, I honestly feel like this film doesn't get enough praise. Yeah, it's not cinematic perfection or anything like that, but I do think that it's better than the average fighter film, and I feel like it flew under a lot of people's radar. The first thing I want to bring attention to is the acting. Yeah, there are a couple of less than stellar performances here, but Jake Gyllenhaal gives us an incredible portrayal of a man who is progressively and systematically destroyed and broken. Not once does it ever feel phoned in or hammy. You can feel the weight of his struggles, and when he hurts, it feels real, raw, and authentic. He was pretty much fresh off his performance as Lou Bloom in Nightcrawler, and between just those two films, you truly get a good feel for his range and how much he dedicates himself to his roles. I also want to give major props to Una Lawrence, who plays Gyllenhaal's daughter. Not once did she ever feel like just another child actor. She brought so much emotion to the role, and she deserves all the kudos for it. The performances from the actors are enhanced exponentially by the direction put on display by Antoine Fuqua. It does a lot to convey story information to us through nothing but visuals, interesting camera work, and editing. Something I noticed early on were shots of characters' hands. There are several shots, especially in the first and second acts of the film, of characters' hands. Some of which seem a little out of place but do a lot to send us a message about the characters themselves. For example, when 50 Cent's character is talking to Rachel McAdams, there's a quick shot during their conversation of his hands. It seems very jarring and out of place, but when compared to the shots earlier in the film of Jake Gyllenhaal's hands, you get a sense of contrast between their characters. 50 Cent's character is a businessman, someone who doesn't get his hands dirty, whereas Gyllenhaal's hands were shown to be raw, calloused, and ready for action. However, when you take a look at a shot of Gyllenhaal's hands after he loses his wife, they're limp, lifeless, stained with blood that isn't his, with a medical alert bracelet on his wrist that's completely blank, giving us an idea as to the emptiness that his life is devolving into. It's ironic that the one time that the boxing gloves aren't there to keep someone else's blood off his hands is when it's the blood of his wife. It kinda gives the impression that boxing was the center of his life, and when he considered letting it go, he realized that there was so much more to lose than just his career. The editing in this film is pretty damn good and really works to elevate the drama. There's one shot switch in particular that I want to draw attention to. When Jake Gyllenhaal is trying to visit his daughter, and he's told in a hallway that she doesn't want to see him, the camera keeps the exact same angle, but cuts to a shot that's about twice as far down the hall away from him. It's a very simple composition of shots to give us an idea of the distance that's growing between him and his daughter, but it's something that other, and dare I say lesser directors wouldn't think to do. And speaking of the editing, during the final climactic fight, the camera captures the action mostly in far wide shots at first. But as it goes on and Gyllenhaal gets more driven and angry, the camera moves in for claustrophobic close shots that shake with every punch, until eventually we go full-on first person to put us right in the action. It's a great way to convey a dynamic ebb and flow to the fight rather than just having each punch filmed in the same manner. Something else I want to draw attention to here is the lack of an antagonist character. Not the lack of an antagonist, but the decision to have him be nothing but a plot device for Gyllenhaal to fight. For some people, that's an issue with the writing, and I get it. But for me, it's an interesting narrative choice. As you watch the film, you start to realize that the main antagonist of the film is Gyllenhaal himself. He is his own worst enemy. And it's not beating the bad guy that wraps up the story, It's him overcoming the obstacles put in front of him and becoming a better person for it. He was holding himself back, so he fought to break down his own walls. And when he finally does and gets recognized for it, that's so much more satisfying and so much more powerful than any boxing match or knockout ever could be. Now, I've got a couple of other small tidbits that help to elevate the story for me. The first is after Jake's daughter tells him that she and mommy had to take care of him, they visit her mother's grave. The flower that she puts down onto that grave not only has 2 blossoms instead of 1, but it's also much bigger than the one that Gyllenhaal lays down. It's a small moment, but it helps to capture the idea that it was always her and her mother that were there to fix him. The second is during the final fight, when the commentators are talking about Jake's loss of hunger to fight. The camera cuts to a shot of him sitting in the ring corner and shaking his leg frantically. It's another blink and you miss it moment of contrast that adds just that much more layers to his character. Now, if I did have but one major gripe with the film, it's just that I feel like it ends too quickly. There are a few story threads that really could have done with a little bit more closure with just one small 2 or 3 minute epilogue scene at the end. But for what we got, I'm okay with it. It leaves us with a feeling of uncertainty that's oddly fitting and makes the story seem more down to earth and human, because let's face it, not everything in life gets resolved and packed away all nice and neat. It leaves us to ponder, and while I kinda don't like that, I also kinda love it. This film isn't a masterpiece by any means, but damn it, it's still a great film with a lot to offer. And even if you don't really go out of your way to watch fighting films, this one still has so much to offer in terms of character and drama, and I challenge even the most stoic among you to watch this and not feel this story on a deeply emotional level. Well, that's all I got for you today. I hope you enjoyed my little deep dive into Southpaw. I know it's definitely not really a geeky kind of film, but like I said, it is a film that I love, and it's a film that I've wanted to talk about for a while. Have you seen it? What do you think of it? Let me know in the comments below. And if you haven't seen it, please go watch it, because I feel like even if you're not really a fan of the genre, you'll still get some kind of enjoyment out of it. This has been Cam in Focus, proud to be part of the Geek News Now network. Find us on social media, links for everything in the description below. Have a wonderful day, everybody.